Welcome to Business Talk, presented in collaboration with the University of Rio Grande and the Ohio State University South Centers, from the heart of southeastern Ohio at the University of Rio Grande TV studio. Our goals are simple: promote the University of Rio Grande and the Ohio State University South Centers, as well as advocate local small business and their support organizations. More importantly, promote Southeastern Ohio as a wonderful place to live, explore, and learn. There are many different ways you can find us. The University of Rio Grande Cable Access Channel 17, live online at blogtalkradio.com, and on YouTube if you are unable to catch our show live. Introducing our co-hosts, Jason Winters, Mike Thompson, Patrick Dengel. Thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoy the show.
Hey, welcome back to our show. We have a very unique and a great host, or a great featured speaker today.
It's all right. We have great hosts too.
Great host and great speaker, Brent Smith. Brent Smith is a registered nurse at Holzer Critical Care Center, and we'll find out a little bit more about that in a minute. And then, of course, we have Mike behind the mic and behind all the dials and making us look at least a little bit.
And I can turn you off if I need to.
That's true. And then, of course, Jason. Back before the turn of the century, I've got to tell you this before we talk with Brent.
Back in the day.
Back in the day.
That really wasn't that long ago. That was only 14 years ago.
Yeah, but this was in '85 when I started my business. I'll be quite frank with you and anyone that ever asks. I thought when I went into business I knew everything. There wasn't anything anyone could tell me because I knew it all. And within the first 6 months, I learned that starting a business was not easy. As a matter of fact, you have to take into account the selling, the finances, the writing of a business plan, and all those different tasks. And there was a lot of things that I learned throughout the years. And I sort of feel fortunate that the fact that here at the University of Rio Grande and over at our OSU South Centers, we have a number of different programs and educational faculty that help individuals to better understand what it takes to run a business. Mm-hmm. And one of the individuals that we're going to feature today is Brent Smith. Brent is a registered nurse who wants to be and really is an entrepreneur at heart. And Brent, we want to welcome you to our show.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you. Brent entered a business plan competition. Brent spent many hours writing a business plan and understanding the different aspects of what it takes to be involved with a business plan. And I know you, Jason, and Mike, you've helped many a student get involved in that business plan. And so my first question to Brent is tell us about yourself and why you got involved in the business plan.
Well, I am, as you said, I'm a registered nurse at Holzer in the critical care unit. I have a bachelor's degree in biology from Ohio University, and then I went to nursing school here at the University of Rio Grande. I'm married, been married for 5 years to a wonderful woman, Samantha, and we have 3 kids together. The reason I wanted to get into opening my own business is that it's kind of been a dream of mine for years now, is to open my own business and to have a little more control over my own financial independence. It gives you a little more control over your life if you own your own business. You can kind of do things at your time when you want to do them. But it also, if you can create your own job, then you will never be unemployed.
You know, we have a lot of individuals, and I'm quite sure all of us have seen those individuals that come to us and say, I'm going to start a business. And that's basically the last we ever see them. I know, Jason, you work with students and, in the Emerson E. Evans College of Business.
Mm-hmm.
and you help many students, and I find it interesting that there are many students wanting to get involved in business like you, Brent, but it's difficult.
I find I have a lot of students coming in with the fallacy that, you know, they're going to be their own business owner and they're going to have all the time in the world to do whatever they want to. And what I kind of bring them around to reality is the more you're involved in your own business, the less time you actually have that belongs to yourself.
Right. Yeah, with mine, I do videos and stuff, and the business runs you.
Absolutely.
If there's no one else around, it's you.
Yeah,
So
you know, usually start when the sun
the buck
comes
stops
up.
here.
Yeah, usually start the day when the sun comes up and you end the day when the sun comes up.
Right.
And so as a registered nurse, it's been always your dream to be an entrepreneur or a business owner.
Yes, it has. And I've considered several different ideas, but right now my plan is to open up a virtual golf facility in Gallipolis, where you get golf simulators. People come in, they pay a little bit of money, you play a round of golf, and you can do it in the winter, you can do it in the summer. It's air conditioned, it's heated, you can do it anytime you want.
So you know a lot about turf and how to take care of grass and all that?
Fortunately, I get to avoid all that. I just got to plug in the computer.
Right.
So why virtual golf? How did you get interested in that?
Well, I like to play golf. I don't get to play as much as I'd like to, but I do like to play. So I know a lot of people who play golf. And it started out a few years ago. I was looking at just golf simulators you could put in your garage or in your basement. And as I was looking around, I started finding some of these more high-tech simulators. The ones in your garage or basement are $300 to $2,000, but you can pay $80,000 for these high-tech simulators if you want to. But as I was searching around, I found other facilities in New York, Massachusetts, Maryland area where they actually have 5 or 6 simulators, and they run a business where you play virtual golf. And that's kind of where the idea came from. And it's taken me, 3 or 4 years to get to the point where I decided, well, I'm going to do something with it. But that's kind of where I'm at now.
So is it only virtual golf, or are you bringing this into another type of business? How are you going to operate your business?
It will be virtual golf is what I'll do. I'll sell, you can play 9 holes, 18 holes, just like you do on a regular golf course. Or you can pay by the hour, you can, whatever you want to do. But yeah, that will be the business model. There will be other things we'll sell, of course. It'll be like a clubhouse atmosphere. We'll sell sandwiches and beer, pop, snacks, things like that. And down the road, we might sell some golf equipment.
So do you hit when you're? I don't play golf at all. Putt frustrates me, but I could throw things even if I play putt. But do you hit an actual ball? Is it like tethered, or is it just a virtual ball that you're just swinging at something?
You hit your ball. The way the system works is that there are a couple of different ways that the simulators work. Some of them will measure the club path and the speed of the club and things like that, and those are okay.
Is there things on the club that?
No, there's infrared sensors.
Okay.
Before the ball and after the ball. And
Okay.
it'll measure the club speed between the two and the angle the club's coming in the ball at. And But the better ones actually measure the ball itself. Some people release the club differently, so they'll come into it at a little different angle. And the ones with the infrared sensors don't work as well. So they use a high-speed camera, and they measure the ball spin and the ball speed and the trajectory.
And how about the angle of the head and all that?
Well, if you're measuring the ball itself, the ball will come off the head at a certain angle.
Okay.
So you can measure the ball, and then it'll spin at a different rate.
So you hit an actual ball and it goes into like a net or something, or?
Basically, you hit it. You'll hit it into the screen. A virtual golf course is projected in front of the golfer on a screen, and it will show your ball flight on it, and they're amazingly accurate.
Okay.
You know, Pat, there actually is a place that has a lot of different video games in Cincinnati area, and it's kind of like a pizza place. You can go there for dinner and play games, and it's a fun house. But they also have several of those virtual golf games. Now, I'm not a big golfer. When I golf, I just like to go out and walk around the course because you've golfed with me. we spend a lot more time looking for
In
my
the
ball
weeds,
than
yeah. I was there
it's
right
kind of a
with you.
nice day.
I was
I
there.
put my hat on and we just enjoy the weather.
Yeah, I
So-
like racing the golf carts personally.
We've done some of that. We absolutely do some of that. And, I always consider it a successful day if I come off the golf course with more balls than I went on the golf course.
And
There you go.
So I get a look for everybody else's.
Yes, yeah.
But while we were in Cincinnati, I noticed that these golf simulators, very popular. There's usually people in line. There's never an empty one. There's always a line waiting to play. And they're sitting around and, they're having fun. It's a game. And there is a big market for it. Is there a market here for that?
Well, I've done some research, of course, because we spent a lot of time putting a business plan together and saying, well, can we really do this? And I don't see why not. If you look at the local population, there's we would probably only need about 4 or 5% of the local golfers to come in once a month to actually break even.
How many golfers are in the Gallia County area?
Oh, let's see.
I did not bring the business plan because
About-
he had worked
Yeah.
through the marketing. But
I've actually computed all the numbers to
Uh-huh.
the exact numbers, but it's about 9,500.
Yeah, I was when I read that number, I was kind of surprised, actually.
Yeah, I'm surprised 9,500 people live here.
but it's rather interesting. Most individuals think that a business owner or an entrepreneur wakes up one morning and the business is immediately started.
Quite the opposite. You got to
Yes.
make sure you got that market before you
That's right.
invest the money to open
That's
the
right.
door.
And the business plan competition, we'll talk about that in a little bit. Really,
I wonder
focuses.
if I could butt in just
Yeah.
a sec. Can you play other games on these simulators? Could it be a batting cage type of situation so you could widen
There
the
are
market?
simulators where they're combined. You could play soccer or things like that, but these are specifically golf. And if
Okay.
you're going to do golf and do it well, you need to do specifically golf.
Okay. Go ahead, Pat. You may go.
You didn't wake up one morning saying, I'm going to do this. This has been, first of all, a dream of yours to own a business.
Yes.
And as you looked at, it wasn't a matter of just one night sitting down and writing out a one-page description what you were going to do.
Yeah,
It
a napkin
entailed
in a
lot.
bar somewhere.
Yeah.
Where had too many shots.
I bet it was intense in putting the business plan together.
It was. We spent a lot of time on it, and it's something that I've thought about for 2 or 3 years. It's not something that I just woke up one day and said, "Well, I'm going to open a golf business tomorrow." I've thought about it, and I'd already done a lot of the research actually, because I'd researched simulators, and I've been going to the golf course, and I already know a lot about the equipment and things like that. And so then I sat down, and sometimes you got to do something even if it's not the right thing. So I started writing, and I came up with a business plan, and then I brought it to Pat, and he helped me to make it into what it is now. But I've put a lot of hours into doing it.
So have you selected a location yet?
We are looking at the downtown Gallipolis area on 2nd Avenue.
And why 2nd Avenue and Gallipolis?
There's some grant funding available through the Digital River Project, and we're hoping to take advantage of that to help with funding the business and getting things opened.
So are golfers like, I'm a motorcyclist. Are golfers like us that we lose practice during the off season? You can't get out there, and so you get rusty. And would this be one of those things that golfers might take advantage of because I can't get out on the course and stay more in practice with the swing and everything, and then when spring comes, I'll be right on my game?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the problems with golf is that in Ohio you can play for about 7 months a year. And then you put the clubs up and you come back out and your swing looks just as bad as it did at the beginning of the year before.
It
you can
usually
play
takes me
inside.
about 5 months to undo the things that I do wrong on playing a golf.
See, that's why I just go once a year. It's just always wrong. You don't worry about it.
You know what to expect. But yeah, and not only can you play in the winter, but you can play in the summer because it can be miserable out there on the golf course when it's 95 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
So you can come in and it's air conditioned in the
So
summer.
Pat,
too.
when there's lightning, go indoor.
Yeah.
And not hold that umbrella.
or that metal golf club.
Metal golf club over my head,
Mhm.
etc. You brought some unique kinds of information. In your estimation, what's the difference between a business entrepreneur and a business owner, small business owner?
The entrepreneur, and I have something here from the Small Business Administration. It says an entrepreneur is an organizer and a risk taker who uses opportunity to make profit. And I think that the key phrase here is organizer and a risk taker. As an entrepreneur, you're organizing not just the day-to-day aspects of the business, but it's a much larger concept, a much larger project that you're putting together. So you've got to find funding for you've got to choose all your equipment, and you've got to find funding for everything. And as a risk taker, when you're a small business owner, one of the major principles is always to minimize risk. But as an entrepreneur, you know there's always going to be risk. Because I've done the numbers, and I know there are 9,500 golfers in the local area, and I need 4% of those golfers to break even. But when you open a business, you can never really say what's going to happen until you've actually opened it. So I think that as an entrepreneur, there's always more risk than as a business owner.
So as one of these entrepreneurs with a risk-taking attitude, do you use that in your nursing field? I don't know if I want to know or not.
No, as a nurse, we have protocols as a nurse. If somebody comes in and their heart's not beating, we have a specific protocol that we go through every time, and we are recertified on that every 2 years. I just finished a trauma class where they go through and they train you. This is the way you look at a patient when they come in. They say you look at, are they breathing? Is their heart beating? Can they talk to you? And it's just, you go right down the steps, and that's how you do it.
Sort of like a pilot does before he takes off, you go through the checklist.
You know,
Right? It's so that you don't miss anything.
Yeah, that's kind of the definition of a manager-owner. They organize and they go through those protocols that you're talking about. You're talking about entrepreneurs, you're talking about more like the doctor. You're talking about innovation and creativity. A doctor comes in and he analyzes you. His treatment for you may be, I hate to use the word creative, but he's using some skills and knowledge that he has to create the best plan and method to make you well. And that's really what an entrepreneur does. Like you said, you walk in, you don't know 100% that you're going to have 4% of the golfing population walk through your door. So on day one, you may have to be creative about how you're going to go out and find that new market. So, with entrepreneurship, you got to be innovative and you got to be creative to be successful.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think that a lot of it has to do with solving problems when you're an entrepreneur. And it's the same as when you're a doctor. It's a lot of problem-solving skills. You have to be able to look at this and say, this is what's wrong, and this is what I'm going to do about it.
So why do so many individuals that want to start a business and all of a sudden they hit a roadblock of not being able to find funding stop? I've always found that you're absolutely right about the creative problems and being able to resolve those problems. But most individuals feel they can't start the business because there's no grants available. And
when you say grants, you're talking about free money?
yeah, free money.
Yeah.
Yes. And we all know that nothing's
Wouldn't we
free.
all be in business if we all got free money?
No, that's very true.
Let me give you $200,000. Go play.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
But with you, you looked at the fact that everything that you, your wife, your children have built is in jeopardy, once you start the business. And yet, through the communications with Samantha and yourself, you're willing to take that risk, and that's, what you're saying about a business entrepreneur.
Right, exactly. Like I said, the key phrase is organizer and risk taker. And if you're not willing to take a risk, then you're not going to be an entrepreneur.
And we're fighting a different game. No pun intended.
So what does it take to start a business, Pat?
Well, how about you? Brent,
Well, I
what do you
think that, first of all, you have to be motivated. You have to be able to get up in the morning and set goals and say, this is what I'm going to get done today. And you have to do it consistently, and you have to do it every day. There are certainly days where I get up and I feel like I'm at a roadblock and there's nothing for me to do. And then sometimes, I say, well, I'm going to do something, even if it's the wrong thing. So I'll call people and I'll try to just talk to people and make contact with people to try and get something going. And I think that that's the key, is that you stay motivated and that you keep working at it constantly.
What does it take to open the door?
Probably takes a plan. Wouldn't you say, first of all, really understanding your product, understanding what the price you're going to be, understanding who your target market is? Isn't that all part of the plan, the management that you put together?
It is, and I was kind of curious as what you meant by open the door, if you meant by open the door to the business or open the door to a new contact. But yeah, as far as the business goes, we've set a plan. We know exactly what we need, and now we've got to go out and find it.
Well, I think what I was actually getting at was, you have your plan together. What does it take to put that plan in action? And my answer was, well, it takes money. So what's the plan to get money? Do we just hope for a grant that's going to give us the money to get started? Or, what does the plan do for us? How do we take that plan and turn it into a business?
Well, the plan right now is kind of a selling point for me. And it's something that I can take to a bank, to somebody who's giving out grants, and I can say, this is what I'm going to do with your money.
Excellent.
And this is what's going to happen once I've opened the doors.
So you're being a salesperson selling to the bank and not just to the customers.
Correct.
Yeah, it's amazing how many people Pat and I get in our office on weekly, daily basis, and they've already started a business because they woke up one morning and they decided they were going to go out and they were going to do this and they were going to make $1 million, and then they ran out of money real quick because their personal savings is gone, and now they got to go to a bank. And the first thing the bank asks is, what's your plan? What do you mean, what's a plan? Well, what's your business plan? And that's when they end up showing up on art. How do we put this business plan together? Well, you've already done the proactive work. You've done your plan before you started the business, which is incredibly intelligent thing to do. You know what it's going to cost to open the door, and now you know what it's going to take funding-wise, and you can take that and you can have your loan pre-approved before you ever open the door. You're ahead of the game, and I commend you on that.
Thank you. Thank you. We've put a lot of work into it. I think that we're ready. We've got a good plan. We've worked hard on it, and I think that soon we'll be opening up.
What is the timeline?
My original goal was to open up at the beginning of 2014. I don't know that that'll happen now. Right now, the goal, what I'm doing is I'm finding funding. That's the point I'm at right now, is talking to banks and sources of grant funding and other investors.
Well, talking to banks ought to be a pretty easy thing to do for golf business because most of those people are on the course. They're your customers. So if you can convince your customers.
And you don't have to go to the bank to talk to them.
That's right.
I could just go hang out at the golf course.
Yeah.
Well, Brent said something that was rather interesting because all of us, I think, have seen at least a business plan on an actual golf course. And it's like everything else. If you are only open 7 months per year, you still have those expenses 5 of the 12 months, but no income coming in. And consequently, you have to make double during those 7 months that you're open than you do on a virtual golf course. A golfing business that you have, etc.
So his business isn't necessarily seasonal.
No, it is not necessarily seasonal. There are going to be those individuals that will want the relaxation and the sun and the walking and the finding of the golf balls. Your eyes lit up when you found 2 golf balls sitting there.
Oh, I like to find those new ones back. Those real expensive ones that I won't buy from the clubhouse that are just laying out there in the weeds.
That's right.
Makes my day.
But Brent, you've been doing something that here at the University of Rio Grande with their small business entrepreneurship fosters and tells its MBA students. And it's a sort of a 2-year course of different kinds of educational programs that help foster a workable business plan. As a matter of fact, you're looking at a man that went through his MBA program in which he started a business because of the 2 years in the coursework. And that business is being very successful even to this day. So he sort of followed what you're doing. And you know, that's the whole purpose, is really mapping out where you want to be 1 year, 3 years, and 5 years. Because yeah, you're right, you know, the financial situation.
You know, Pat, the first entrepreneurship class we actually have in the MBA program, one of the things I sat down with all of our students and explained that we're going to be putting together a business plan, and that's going to be the capstone of the project. And I said, there is never an unsuccessful business plan. And then, of course, they look at you like, you mean just because I do this plan, I'm going to make money? I said, no, that's not what I said. There's not an unsuccessful business plan. Because at the end of the process, you have an idea whether or not the plan that you're putting forward is going to make money or it's going to not make money.
Because you're putting in the research that you didn't
Absolutely.
before.
So at the end of the project, you may look at it and say, you know what, there's a market here. It's going to make money, and now I can invest. Or you can look at it and say, you know what, the dream that I've always had, there ain't no way it's going to work. And you don't invest your life savings,
right.
and you don't throw money down a rabbit hole. So even
Or
though
you could have-
prove that it's not going to work, you're a winner.
Or you could have a good idea and be in the wrong market.
Absolutely.
You could have your golf idea and
Sure.
take it to another venue and do well there. And you know,
Absolutely.
maybe not got police.
Right. So that's the importance of a business plan. I mean, it's exactly that. It's a game plan. You know,
Yeah.
and I often compare it to athletics.
Hmm.
You know, it's the coach's plan to win the game. It's the entrepreneur's plan to make money.
Right.
The interesting thing is that you have such a strong family that I would imagine both partners, your wife and you, looked at the fact that your house, like most small businesses, goes up against any more monies that you borrow. And some people look at their houses as a tool, and some people look at their houses as a home. And so I bet you the first selling point or the selling person that you had to go through was your wife.
Well, yeah, it is. And that's exactly right. We look at the home we look at it differently. To her, it was initially, it's just no, absolutely not. If there's a chance we could lose the house, and then no. But you know, we realized, at least I realized that at the time, that you know it was a possibility that we were gonna have to put something into it. Nobody was just going to give us money to go and open a business on our own. And so yeah, that the home and everything, all these resources that we've built up, they're options as far as how we would fund the business.
And one of the things that I noticed that you did extremely well was you looked at what if scenarios. What if something tragically happened to you or your wife? What happens if you did not make what you hoped would be in sales? And you looked at a variety of different scenarios. And I think that speaks very highly of you as an entrepreneur in that creative process.
Well, yeah, planning is one of the keys to the business plan and just opening the business. And that is that as we did it, we said, well, what if Samantha can't work anymore? And is our family still going to be okay? And what if I can't work? Will our family be okay? And we sat down and we crunched every number, and we came up with an answer as to how things would work and what our budget would look like.
That's a long,
Contingency plans.
painful process, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I often tell students again, if you're married, you're really not a sole proprietor. You're
Oh,
a
no.
partner.
That's right.
Yeah, so the decisions you make better be the decisions your wife is going to make or your significant other.
Yeah, That's very, very true. We only have about 1 or 2 more minutes. Again, I know you had about 6 amusing stories. But, we'll have to have you come back and you can tell those amusing stories. But would you like to leave with something we haven't covered? You know, we talked a little bit about many different things, but common sense in the business world. Very strong words.
Yes, it is, and it's something that a lot of people don't have. Is common sense, especially
Can I
when
get
you-
an amen on that?
Amen. Amen, brother.
especially when you're looking at the things that can really happen to you down the road, and looking at real numbers as far as what you can expect to do with your business. If you look at a lot of business plans, you'll see that those numbers are way exaggerated. That the numbers that they show are just not what could possibly happen, and that's part of common sense. And then the contingency plans that we worked on, that's part of having common sense and saying, well, is this a risk I'm willing to take?
Yeah, I had an individual that planned out, he wanted to start a donut factory. And by 6 months, he would have 60 people making close to 1 million donuts a day in 6 months. And your point is well driven. It would be 8 months.
But you could eat that many donuts, and you'd be their main customer.
Yeah, I've been eating too many of their donuts.
Well, Brent, we certainly do appreciate you joining us today on Business Talk. We wish you all the best with your new venture, and we can't wait to get it open because I'm going to bring Mike down and see if he can swing a golf club.
I doubt it. I'll swing it at something, maybe.
And of course, Pat wants to just sit there and have a beer. So
Well, I'll.
Well, you're all welcome.
If I duff on the on my shots on a fairway, I'll probably duff on his game. So yes,
but you might drink a beer and do a whole lot better.
or 2 beers.
You have been listening to Business Talk. I'm Jason.
I'm Patrick.
I'm Mike.
I'm Brent.
Have a good day.